Have you ever gone through a period in your life where you feel kind of hopeless? Maybe you're feeling that way right now, which is why you clicked on this talk. Because you've been feeling kind of hopeless when you think about the future, when you think about your life. You've been getting kind of existential and just sort of wondering, what's there to look forward to? What's the point? And kind of getting into that place and wondering what to do about it. Because it doesn't feel good to feel hopeless, obviously. It feels kind of empty. It feels kind of hopeless. And so today I want to talk to you about what to do when you're feeling that way to help you get out of that so you can get back to feeling more connected to life and enjoying life and just finding more joy and peace and fulfillment in life. So it's definitely something that I have struggled with at times. And so I hope that what I'm teaching you today really helps you too. And worked with a lot of people over the years who have come to me and said, things in my life seem good. And there's no reason for me to feel unsatisfied. There's no reason for me to feel hopeless and empty. And I just can't figure it out. And so we've had those conversations and I've helped them work through that. And so I really hope that what I'm going to teach you today helps you as well if you are in that place. If you're new here, welcome to our incredible little corner on the internet. Take a second and introduce yourself in the comment section below. If you are back again, it is always good to have you. If you haven't already, you can subscribe to the channel. The button's about right down there. Then we can stay connected and get notified when new talks come out. Either way, my name is Kristina, and I am a registered clinical therapist, a researcher, a coach, and the creator of my membership community, the Shift Society, where we have shifters in there taking this work to a deeper level, learning tools and techniques, strategies, and step-by-step processes to manage your mind and emotions so that you can think better and feel better and have better and live better every single day of your life. You can get more information about the Shift Society in the description below. I help heart-centered humans break through the crap that is holding them back so that they can like themselves and their lives more every day. And it is harder to like our lives when we are feeling hopeless. Now, just as an aside, if you have been feeling empty and sad and hopeless for quite a while, and there doesn't seem to be really any break from it, then that is likely something more than just sort of having a bit of like an existential moment in your life. And it could likely be something more significant like depression. Like major depressive disorder. Sorry, that's a bit of a tongue twister. So that's something you do need to talk to your doctor about, and even seek out counseling for. That is a more significant issue. I'm not talking about that like kind of long-term, persistent, empty, hopeless, sad, having a hard time just like living life for quite a while. If you've been struggling with that, then please do seek out professional help with that. I'm talking more about going through kind of a stage in life where you just feel a little more existential, where you're just kind of like, I used to really enjoy life. I used to kind of get joy out of little things. I used to feel more connected. I used to feel more present. And lately I've just been feeling kind of blah. I've been feeling kind of hopeless. The things that used to bring me joy just aren't, and I don't know what's going on. And my brain keeps feeding me messages like, what's the point? And like, this is dumb, or, this doesn't matter, or you don't matter, or life is meaningless, or whatever that is. And you're sort of getting yourself into a funk like that. And so that's what I want to talk about today and give you some tools and strategies to help you pull yourself out of that. And the first strategy is to notice that your thoughts are not always truths. That we are tempted as humans to believe everything we think because we're thinking it. And we think that if we're thinking it, then we wouldn't be thinking it if it wasn't the correct thought. But that is just not the way human brains work. We have all kinds of thoughts every single day that are not based on anything accurate or truthful. Right? Like you could get a text, or you could text someone and then they don't text you back for a few hours. And then you could think, oh my gosh, this person's mad at me, or this person hates me, or, like this friendship is over, or this relationship is over, where really they could have been in a meeting. right? And so they weren't able to text you back, or they could have been busy doing something else, or they could have left their phone in another room. Not everybody is glued to their phone, but we have this thought that this is what this thing is. And so then we create all these feelings for ourselves based on these thoughts that aren't even truth. And we put ourselves through a whole ringer for something that isn't even a fact. It's not even true. It's not even what's actually happening. So we can't always trust our thoughts. And our brain can be feeding us thoughts like, everything is hopeless, nothing's going to work out, things are never going to go the way that you want them to, you're never going to have the things in life that you really desire, and your brain can be feeding you all of this stuff. But that just might not be true. You might be feeling down, and we've talked about this before on here, this concept of confirmation bias. So when we are thinking a certain thought or feeling a certain feeling, our brains like to be efficient. And so they will come up with any kind of evidence that they can to support our current state. So that's just kind of like psychobabble for basically saying your brain likes to be right. So if you're feeling down and kind of hopeless and you're like, this is a really tough day, or I've been having a really tough week, or things haven't been going the way that I want to for the past couple weeks, or whatever, or this certain area of my life, my career or my relationship, or this certain goal hasn't been turning out the way that I want. So it's, and then, so we had this thought, like, it's not going the way that I want. It's not turning out the way I expected it to. And then we're feeling down about it. We're feeling kind of hopeless about it. And then our brain will, thank you brain very much, come up with all kinds of other examples or evidence to try to support our current state. Right? So our brain will be like, yeah, and remember that time when you had that other relationship that, totally failed? Or remember that time you tried to get that position at that company and you didn't get it? Or remember that time that person didn't text you back and it actually meant that they were mad at you? And so then our brain comes up with all of this evidence to compound or just support how we're currently feeling, right? It has this selective evidence gathering without even considering the times where things did work out, where things weren't what we thought they were, where there was a good explanation, where things did go the way that we had planned or expected. It just sort of forgets all of that and only remembers the circumstances or the moments in time, the situations in our lives that confirm how we're currently feeling, which is why we can start to feel a lot more hopeless in any given moment when we're already feeling kind of down or defeated. Then our brain is like, yeah, see, this didn't work out here. It's not going to work out there. And it didn't work out here. So it's probably not going to ever work out again. You're never going to have this. It's never going to be the way that you want it to. You're always going to be in this position. You're always going to be stuck here. You're never going to find the right relationship. You're never going to feel satisfied in life. You're never going to get where you want. You're never going to get the house. You're never going to get the career, whatever that is. You're never going to fulfill that dream. You're never going to, furnish your house with the style that you really want to, or whatever that is. And we can start to feel really hopeless, but our thoughts are not always truths. And even when we come up with evidence to support our current state, it's not always an accurate cross-section of evidence. Your brain is just trying to be efficient. So really the first step is to not believe everything you think. And my book, Drive Your Own Darn Bus, is going to teach you a step-by-step process on how to challenge those thoughts and how to not get stuck in that trap of believing everything you think. And it's going to teach you how to do that. And yeah, so I wrote a book in case you didn't know, and it is out right now for pre-order. It's coming out on March 8th, 2022. Maybe you're watching this video after that. So it's available to you, but it's available for pre-order now, and you can get your hands on it as soon as it comes out if you pre-order it now. And if you are thinking about getting the book, if I could ask you to pre-order it, that would be amazing, because how this works with booksellers is that the more pre-orders they get, the more they see that people are interested in the topic or in the author. And so then they will carry it for longer and they will promote it more, so then we can get these tools into more hands. So if you've been watching my videos for a while, if you really like what I teach, a lot of that is in here. We talk about people-pleasing and boundaries and self-compassion and self-confidence and managing our minds and emotions and becoming the directors of our own lives, basically learning how to drive our own darn buses in our own lives and staying in our own lane in the process. So if you've been following my work for a while, really like it, really connect with it, then you're going to love this book. And yeah, if I could ask you to put in a pre-order, That would be amazing. And if you do, will you let me know in the comments so that I can thank you for that? Because that really means a lot. So yeah, if you want to go deeper with that, if you want to go deeper into learning how to manage your thoughts, challenge your thoughts, create the thoughts that you want to be thinking in a way that actually works, I teach you that process in the book. The next thing to do when your life feels hopeless is to remember a time when you didn't feel hopeless. And this is one thing that really helped me when I went through a period a few years ago of just feeling really kind of hopeless, really down and defeated. Things weren't going the way that I wanted them to. I was working really hard and things weren't turning out the way that I expected them to. And I started to get really down and started to think and feel like it's never going to work out. It's never going to go the way that I want. It's never going to happen. And started to feel really hopeless, but then remembered and reminded myself to remember that there were times in my life where I felt and thought similar things, but then it did work out. But then I did get through it. And then, the hopeless feeling stopped and I started to feel like myself again. And maybe even the thing didn't work out exactly how I thought it would, but I was able to find joy in life again. I was able to connect with life again. I was able to find other things that were working out and really spend some time focusing on those things. I was able to be more present and grateful in my life again and feel that connection to my life again. Remembering the concept of impermanence, that everything is temporary. And sometimes we forget it when we're in it. We're like, when I'm feeling this way, I'm feeling hopeless. And I've been feeling this big feeling for, a few days or maybe even a couple of weeks. And so I'm never going to feel anything any different. This is it. This is me for the rest of my life. And it's amazing how our brains can do that, right? How we're like, I'm feeling this way now, which means that I have no capacity to ever feel any other feeling or have any other experience in life again. But when we think back to other points in our life where we have thought the exact same thing, but then we did get to the other side of it. Things did get back to the way they were before. Things did get back to normal. We did start feeling like ourselves again. We did start feeling more connected to life and to the people around us and to the things that bring us joy. So remembering that, thinking back to a time when you felt hopeless, but then got through it and felt hopeful again. Thinking back to times in your life where you have felt hopeful and then felt maybe some hopelessness, but then you got through it and moved back to feeling hopeful again. Trusting that life comes in waves. Sometimes we do go through waves, and I'm not saying that they naturally just sort of always clear on their own. Sometimes we have to do the work. Often we have to do the work to move through that. But knowing that we can and we will, because we have before. Look to the past as a way to inform what's possible in the present and in the future. The next thing to do when you're feeling hopeless is to take a step. Even if you don't feel like it. Even if you don't think it's going to make a difference. Do it anyways. We can't always see the results immediately of the work that we're doing and the steps that we're taking. But it's going to get us a lot further than doing nothing. Even if we don't see it immediately, know that you are moving forward. You are creating things. You are reprogramming things in your brain. And we talk about this a lot in my membership community, the Shift Society, where I tell people, don't kind of assess where you're at in the program for a month. If you look at like every day, if you're like, today, I didn't make a big shift today. Oh my gosh, this isn't working. But like take note, maybe do a journal entry on day one about where you're at and what you're feeling and what you're thinking and how things are going in your life. And then do the work. Do the core lessons in the program. Intentionally focus on them, do the homework, kind of invest yourself in that for a month, just a month, and then check in with yourself in a month and see how you're doing. It's like when if you're on, some kind of like health journey and you're trying to lose weight for whatever reason, maybe it's for health reasons, it's for cosmetic reasons, whatever it is. I'm not here to tell you what your reasons should be. But, if you weigh yourself every single day, then you might get discouraged because you're like, like it kind of went up and then it went down and then it went up and, and it's kind of this like little bit of slow progress. But if you were to weigh yourself on day one, and then if you are doing the work and what it requires to drop weight, if that's what your goal is, then, in a month, you're going to see some bigger changes. But if you do it every single day, you're going to start to get discouraged because not a lot is going to change on a day-to-day basis. And so the same thing when it comes to our mental and emotional well-being. Take a step, go through the process, do the work, and then check in with yourself after a month, maybe, and then check in again after another month. And this is what I found in the Shift Society is that when people do that after a month, they're like, holy cow, I didn't think anything was really happening, but I noticed that when that person said that, I didn't take it personally. When this happened in my life, I got upset about it, but it didn't knock me out for the entire day. Or maybe it was when your boss gave you some feedback that was less than stellar and they told you to go back and redo this part of the project. You didn't go into self-loathing. You didn't tell yourself that you were a failure or an idiot or couldn't do anything right. Maybe you said, okay, yeah, I can receive that feedback and I got some work to do and nobody's perfect and that's okay. I did my best and now I've got some things that I want to improve on and I'll do it. And you didn't make a big deal about it. It didn't slay your entire day. Maybe you got kind of upset about it for a couple hours, but you were able to move through it because you've been taking the steps. I remember several years ago when I was starting my private practice, I was feeling really discouraged because things weren't happening the way that I thought that they would. And I thought I was doing a lot. I was putting myself out there. I was blogging back when, blogging was a big thing. I was blogging. I was dropping off my card at different businesses. I was, I'd been doing little meetup groups to kind of get my name out there. I'd been telling friends and family about my private practice. I had been, just doing everything that I could think of to start building my private practice, and it wasn't happening. And so I started to feel really hopeless. Like I can't do this. It's not going to work. It's not going to happen. This dream is not going to be fulfilled. And so I took a step back and say, okay, do I want to give up or do I want to give it more? And decided that I hadn't been at it for that long, that I would maybe, hustle for the next 6 months and see if at that point it wasn't getting any traction, and then decide if I wanted to hire someone to help me with marketing or just to kind of figure out what the next step was. And I'm not saying that you have to do it for 6 months and then check in, but you can get some support or some help and kind of get more of that guidance to help things move forward if that's where you're at. But just don't give up at the first sign of resistance or at the first message that your brain gives you that it's hopeless. Because again, those are just thoughts. Take the steps. Keep taking the steps. And like I said, sometimes, the steps are to hire someone to get some extra help with it. If you're like, this is new to me and I don't really know how this works. If it's about finding a new career, hire a career coach. If it's, again, like if it's about deciding what to do to go back to school, if you want to change your career, it's about hiring someone to help you make that decision. If it's about finding the love of your life, hiring someone to help you with that. I mean, whatever that is, and you're starting to feel hopeless because you've been taking steps, keep taking steps. Keep taking the action to get what you want and get the help and support you need along the way. It might not seem like anything is happening, but more often than not, it is. It's kind of like building that foundation that we don't see it. When a building is going up, we don't see the foundation. We're like, oh my gosh, that lot has been kind of seeming like vacant or like open forever. And you're like, what is going on there? And then all of a sudden, one day there's like a structure built because we didn't realize that the whole time they'd been spending all of this time and intention building that really strong, secure foundation, getting things level, getting things secure, and just like building the foundation. So we didn't see the structure take place when all that was happening. And then all of a sudden, once that foundation kind of reached that point of being, well done, then we could easily just sort of build up from there. And it happened a lot faster. But sometimes it takes a lot more time and energy and effort to build that foundation than we think it's going to. But then when we do, things can start to happen a lot more quickly once we've got that foundation in there. So keep taking steps towards what you want. Get the support you need. Tap into the resources that you have available to you. Don't believe your thoughts when they tell you because you've been at this for a couple weeks or you've tried a few things and it's not working that it's hopeless. The next step is to think about things that are actually going well. Again, because our brains like to be efficient and just sort of focus on one thing at a time, when things aren't going well, we're like, everything is awful. This one area of my life, I haven't been able to figure out what my next career move is, and I've been stuck in this transition period for a while, and I'm really frustrated, so everything is awful. Or I've been single for a long time, and I haven't been able to find the right partner for myself, the compatible person I want to spend my life with, or at least part of my life with, and so that isn't working out, so everything is terrible. Right? And so it can hijack. One thing can be going wrong and then our brain likes to be efficient. So it's like everything is going wrong. But again, not believing what we think just because we're having the thought, it doesn't mean it's a truth. And also seeing the trees through the forest. That there are other trees in there. There are good things that are going on in your life. There are things that are meaningful, that are important. There are people that you love. There are people that love you. There are things that you enjoy doing that are outside of this particular area, this career or this love life or, going back to school or, learning how to make hand cut pies from scratch or whatever that's not going the way that you thought it would and thinking everything is now hopeless. There are other things that are going well. And don't forget to see that, even if it's the sun is out today. And I feel good when the sun is out. That is going well. The sun is shining. It's been rainy for a few days and the sun is shining. And I'm going to let myself connect with that because that is good. Or this coffee that I'm drinking. Oh my gosh, me personally, I love coffee. So having a really good cup of coffee, even when there's areas of my life that are hard, sitting and savoring that cup of coffee and being really grateful for that helps to break through some of those feelings of hopelessness, even the silly things. I know it can sound stupid, but letting ourselves connect with the little things, because so much of our lives is the little things. And we often let sort of these areas, like one area of something that feels bigger, overshadow everything else. Think of things that you're grateful for. Think of things that you have to look forward to, some areas in your life that are going well, and let yourself lean into that. Doesn't mean you're not allowed to feel frustrated or discouraged about this other area, but you're not doing it exclusively, right? You're not letting that take over. Allow space for both. The next thing to do when you're feeling hopeless, find yourself someone to talk to. A friend, a family member, someone who is close that you feel safe and supported by. Not necessarily someone that's going to offer you a bunch of advice and be kind of pushy with that, but maybe someone that can offer an outside perspective and give some suggestions, not again in sort of like a pushy, pressure-filled way that you have to do this or you need to do this, but someone that's like, hey, what about this? Someone that can help you see a different perspective. My sister is really good at this. She knows me really well, and I can come to her and be like, I'm so discouraged, I'm feeling so hopeless, I'm feeling so frustrated, and nothing is going right, nothing is going well. And she'll be like, hey, just a second. And will kind of give me a little bit of a shake, and it helps, right? It doesn't make everything automatically better, but it kind of helps me be like, oh yeah, and it helps me give me that perspective that I'm having a hard time finding on my own because my brain again is trying to be efficient by thinking of everything that's going wrong and sort of keeping me in that state. So find people that you can talk to. Not people that you can just commiserate with and be like, oh my gosh, yeah, everything is awful. Although sometimes that can be helpful. We just need some people to just be like, oh yeah, everything sucks and everything is hard. But we do need people that are going to help us come up with some strategies. If it's a therapist, if it's a coach, if it's a good friend, if it's a pastor, if it's, some kind of mentor, if it's just a colleague at work that's really good at talking to you and helping you, and whoever that is. But having some people to talk to. And you know what else can help? When we talk to people about things that we're going through and struggles that we're having, is when they are able to say, yeah, I get it. I've felt that too. I've experienced that too. You're not alone. And again, not to just sort of sit and like bitch and moan and commiserate about everything, but to just be like not feeling alone in our struggles. If someone that we love and trust and they're like, yeah, I've been through this too. I get that. It's tough. Then we're like, oh my gosh, there's nothing wrong with me for feeling this way. And there can be this big sense of relief that comes from that, because often our struggles feel very isolating, and we feel isolated in our struggles, in our pain, in the things that we are feeling stuck in. And we're like, what's wrong with me? And why am I feeling this way? And how come I have to deal with this? And instead of understanding that this concept of common humanity, that we are never alone. And that's been one thing that people in the Shift Society have found really helpful, is hearing other people's stories of things that they're dealing with and struggling with, and trying to work through, and being like, them seeing that and be like, oh, I thought I was the only one. And I thought there was something wrong with me. And it's been so healing and helpful to see that I'm not the only one, and that this is part of being human, which every experience is. If we are having a certain experience, a certain thought, a certain feeling, in a certain circumstance in our lives that's feeling really hard, it's a possible human experience, which means that it is, because we are human and we're having that experience, right? So it's a possible human experience, which means it is something that other human beings are experiencing, because it's within the roster of possible human experiences. So we are never alone, even when we think we are, even when shame tries to convince us that we are. It can seem hard when we feel hopeless in life. It can seem like there is no hope, which is obviously why we're feeling hopeless. But our thoughts are not always truths. Our feelings are not always facts. And there's a lot more we can do to help ourselves move through it than we might realize. So taking action. It's going to be tough to move forward if we're not taking any steps. So taking some steps, learning how to manage your mind and emotions with the tools in my book that you can grab. This is taking this work deeper and giving you some step-by-step processes that are going to make this a lot easier and a lot more straightforward. Would love to hear your thoughts about this. How you doing? What are you going to take from this? What action are you going to take starting today from what you learned in this talk? Would love to hear that in the comments. Always good to have you here. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Like the video if you liked it. Just helps get it in front of more people. And it's always good to have you here. Until next time, take good care.